Good morning. What is up, everybody? Matt here, Matt Moda here with another live stream of Fast Break Bets, of course, hosted by Betting Pros on the Betting Pros YouTube channel every 11 a.m. every Wednesday and Friday. You guys know the drill at this point. Today we have a massive slate of 13 games. So we're going to have one pick for each game. So 13 picks total. Real quick, before we get into today's picks, just want to do a recap from last stream on Wednesday. We had a little bit of a bounce back stream. For those of you that tuned in a week ago, was our worst stream ever. Wednesday, we bounced back a little bit. Didn't necessarily break the bank or anything, but we had 11 picks. We went 5 and 6 on those 11 picks, but thanks to some pretty juicy odds plays that ended up hitting, we ended up the stream plus 1.36 units. We got like a plus 250 play to hit. We got a couple other high plus 100s. So that brings our total profit on these streams so far to plus 1.664 units of profit overall. Again, not breaking the bank. I'm hoping we can get over that 10 plus unit mark here shortly that we were at before the rough stretch. While you're here, appreciate you for joining me. I already see some comments in the chat. I'll get to you in a second. Make sure to subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel if you are not already. Share the link of the stream to as many of your friends as possible so we can cash as many bangers with as many people as possible. And then get those questions, comments, anything in the chat. I have a screen up here. When you see me look over, I'm checking the chat. So make sure to get anything in there. And then for me, you can find me at my handle basically anywhere at Jedi Modai. Space Cram is hearting Paolo. I'm not going to have anything on Paolo, good or bad. And then Aaron Bales asking about Embiid under 44.5 points of rebounds and Claxton over 23.5 or over 23 points in rebounds. I didn't look at either of those. The Claxton one makes sense because the Wizards give up a ton of rebounds. That's not ended up being a play that I had, but I know that I think they've given up the two highest just total rebounds for the opposing team in a game this entire year. So the Embiid one, fading Embiid is always scary. I mean, he just put up 50, so it probably feels like a good time to just take the under because of how good that game was. And the Claxton one I do like a lot. But we can get into today's picks. First up, in the Raptors versus Hornets, I'm taking Pascal Siakam 25 plus points, plus 135 odds. This is at Fanatics. If you don't use Fanatics, you can get it at plus 125 at both DraftKings and FanDuel. So this was a play that I technically did find using the Betting Pros app, but I took it at a pumped up number. I took it at 25 plus instead of his main line, which I believe is 22.5. Betting Pros projects him to score 25 points, which was my logic for doing that. So instead of taking something at like minus 115 or minus 120, we'll get better odds at plus 135. Obviously, we're paying for that because it's less likely to hit, but that's always my logic with the pumped up props. Looking at Siakam in this game against the Hornets, this is about as easy a matchup you'll get in playing in the NBA, which is why I'm backing Siakam in the first place. According to net rating, the Nets have the worst defense in the NBA. They allow the 5th most points per game in the NBA. And the reason why there's the difference between total net rating and points per game is just because they play at an average pace. They don't play slow, but they don't play fast. And if you look at the teams that allow the most points, they also play at a fast pace, except for the Hornets. They're the outlier. And where they really struggle are against forwards, shooting forwards, power forwards. Like Siakam, the Hornets allow the most points per game specifically to power forwards in the entire NBA, and by a wide margin too. Like the gap between the Hornets and the team that allows the second most points is the same amount as the gap between the team that allows the second most and a team that allows the 7th most. So yeah, they're terrible specifically at guarding the forward. So I like Siakam to get to 25 plus points, plus 135 odds. Hopefully he can come through for us. Next up, in the Pistons versus Magic game, I'm taking Bojan Bogdanovic under 7.5 rebounds plus assists. I found this at minus 130 odds at FanDuel. Now, this was another play that I did find using the prop betting cheat sheet on the Betting Pros app. Positive expected value of 36.8% EV. Betting Pros projects him to have a 77.3% chance that he goes under this number. And then for reference, they also give out their own projections. He's projected to have 4.7 of this stat, and we just need him to go under 7.5. So Bojan has only played in 2 games this year since he returned from, he's been injured, and he's returned for only 2 games. He's gone 1-1 in terms of missing it and going over and under this number. The reason why I like his under tonight is because of the matchup. So he went over in his last game, but that was against the Grizzlies, who are terrible. Now the Pistons are playing the Magic, who have one of the best defenses in the NBA. Overall, the Magic give up the fewest opponent rebounds per game. They allow the third fewest assists. They just don't allow a ton of stats against them. So I have a hard time seeing Bogdanovic have a great game in this one. So yeah, minus 130 odds. It's not fantastic, but I do really like the play. So that's what we're locking in as our second pick. Next up in the Hawks versus Sixers game, I'm taking Trae Young over 10.5 assists. This is at plus 110 odds at BetMGM. So as of right now, Trae is listed as questionable to play with an illness. If he suits up, he's going to suit up because he's good to go. If he doesn't suit up, then we'll just get this play refunded. So no harm, no foul there. And the reason why I like this play, it's another matchup play. The Sixers give up a lot of assists, specifically to the pass first, kind of undersized, slithery types of point guards like Trae Young. It's because of the way they play defense. They play drop coverage with Embiid. So you run Trae and Capella in a pick and roll, Embiid drops. And then when Trae Young has an open lane to the basket, and if Embiid then steps up, it's an easy lob to Capella. If Embiid doesn't step up, it's an easy floater for Trae. And if if one of the wings crashes, it's an easy kick out to a corner three. So they always get killed by these types of point guards. It's just how they play defense with Embiid. And for reference, looking at opposing point guards, last game, Tyus Jones, who's a pass first point guard, had 8 assists on an over under of 5.5. So cleared it with ease. Previously in a game against the Cavs, both point guards, Darius Garland and Craig Porter Jr., went over their assist over under, and they combined for 15 between the two of them. In a previous stint of games, Tyrese Halliburton had a back-to-back against the Sixers and had a combined 32 assists with no turnovers. He had 17 in one game, 15 in another. And then in a previous set of games against the Raptors, Dennis Schroeder, had 10 plus assists against them in 2 separate games. And he's not even a pass first point guard. So it's not as though the Sixers allow a lot of assists. It's in this specific matchup. So that's why we're targeting Trae in this one. I like for him to go over 10.5. Before I go into my next pick, I do want to talk about the Betting Pros app. So I've already talked twice about how I use the app. I use it for pumped up props. I use it for just strict EV plays as well. You can find the app at bettingpros.com/apps. The first thing that I want to talk about is the cheat sheet. You can filter the cheat sheet by kind of whatever stat you want, by likelihood that the pick hits, by the biggest difference between Betting Pros projections and the sportsbooks over under, or you can just filter it by EV, which is what I do as well. Just the highest EV and kind of scroll down from there. You can find that if you want, bettingpros.com/NBA props. I love looking at the cheat sheet for all my player props, not even just the NBA. I do it for NFL as well. And then you can follow all my picks on the app as well. I track everything on the app, bettingpros.com/Modi. Through the app, you can sign up for a free trial of the premium offering, which we're going to get into in a little bit, for also a giveaway of that. But the premium offering comes with a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about. And then it also syncs with your sportsbook. So you don't need to manually go through and track everything. You can just sync it directly on Betting Pros, and then it'll give you your profit and loss and all that stuff. So that's how you can use the app. It's a really cool app. I definitely recommend using it. bettingpros.com/apps. So we're 3 picks down. Next up, this is in the Knicks versus Celtics game. I'm taking Jayson Tatum over 4.5 assists, plus 120 odds at BetMGM. So last time I backed a Jayson Tatum assist play was exactly 1 week ago. I had him over 4.5 assists. He had 4 in the first half. Thought that was an easy W. And then he gets ejected in the third quarter, ends with 4 assists. That was tough. Let's hope we have better luck today. Overall, Tatum's only cleared this number in 7 of 20 games. So it looks a little bit scary from that perspective. But in 7 of the 13 games he's missed, he's had exactly 4. So it's not as though he's terrible from a playmaking department. He's not a black hole. It really just depends on if guys are making shots or not. The game I referenced where he got ejected was 2 games ago. Where, again, he had 4. He probably would have went over if he didn't get hurt. The next game, he had 6 against the Pacers. On the year, Jayson Tatum averages 9 potential assists per game. That's not obviously in range of like the Halliburtons and the Trae Youngs of the world, but that does, put him on par with Jimmy Butler, with Drew Holiday, and it's above guys like Steph Curry and Josh Giddey. So He's not, again, one of the best passing forwards in the league, but he's also not terrible. And the last time the Celtics played the Knicks, he had 7 assists. So let's hope he can get close to that number. Next up, Wizards versus Nets game. I'm taking Jordan Poole, 3+ made 3-pointers, plus 190 odds at FanDuel. So this was another play that I did technically find on the app. His main line is over under. His main line over under is 1.5. I just pumped him up to 3 to get way better odds. Plus 190 is pretty good. Betting Pros projects Jordan Poole to actually have 3.5, 3.4 to be exact, 3.4 3-pointers in this game. So you could even pump it up to 4 if you really wanted to get plus money odds. Obviously, we're just going to track the 3+. Poole is very, very easy to make fun of. The ultimate Shaqtin' a Fool player in the NBA. But he also shoots a ton. I'm not going to say they're good shots. I'm just going to say that he shoots a ton. Yeah, he's only shooting 28.2% from 3. What I care more about is the fact that he continues to shoot a ton. And in this game against the Nets, he should also continue to shoot a ton. The Nets have a lot of like long, switchy 3-and-D wings, but they don't do a great job defending the 3-point line, especially against point guards. Overall, they allow the 6th most opponent-made 3-pointers and the 3rd most opponent 3-point attempts. But if you specifically isolate against point guards, they allow the most made 3-pointers specifically to opponents' point guards. This is not me saying that I think Jordan Poole is going to have a good game. He could shoot 4 of 20. As long as 3 of those are made 3-pointers, that's all that matters. He's probably going to shoot a ton. If he does, I'm guessing he's going to cash this. It's definitely scary, Aaron. It's definitely scary. I get it. But I think that the value's there. I think it makes a lot of sense. Next up, Timberwolves versus Grizzlies. This is our 6th pick of this slate. I'm taking the Timberwolves straight up, or not straight up. I'm taking the Timberwolves spread -5.5, -110 odds at FanDuel. This is a mainline play. I don't have a ton of them. It's hard to find positive expected value mainline plays because the odds are so sharp. I did find one here. This was a line shopping play. Another way in which you can use the app is if you just go to odds and search through a game, you can find discrepancies between the sports books. That's what I found here, a really good price on the Timberwolves. Every other book has this at 6 or 6.5, including sharp sports books. So I like taking advantage of FanDuel, who only had it at 5.5 at relatively even money at -110. I also just love this spot for the Timberwolves. Their first game back from the mini in-season tournament break, whatever you want to call it, was a little bit rough. That also coincided with Anthony Edwards' first game back from the hip injury. They played the Spurs. They won 102-94. So yeah, if you're talking like an 8-point victory, it doesn't look horrible, but they were double-digit favorites, so they didn't cover the spread, and it was close the entire game. It was not a backdoor cover by the Spurs. Luckily, they're blessed with another easy matchup, this time against the Grizzlies. Grizzlies are 6-14, 23rd in terms of net rating in the NBA. The Timberwolves have the 4th best net rating in the NBA with the best defense by far. So I think one game that they struggled after, again, a little bit of a mini break and incorporating Edwards back into the lineup, I think makes sense. I expect them to bounce back in this one, hopefully cashing our 6th play. Next up, 7th pick for the slate in the Cavs versus Heat game. I'm taking Jimmy Butler over 1.5 steals, +140 odds at Fanatics. You can also get it at +135 at DraftKings. I don't bet a ton of these markets, but I do love when you can find an edge in these niche markets like steals because they're not heavily bet. So when you can find an edge, it can be pretty good. And that's what we found here. And I found it using the Betting Pros app. They project him to have 2 steals. They give him a 56.6% chance. Sorry, that's a tongue twister. That he records over 1.5 steals. So for +140 odds, that's really good value. And yeah, steals, it's an interesting category. It's not one of the most glamour markets, of course, but looking into the matchup a little bit, the Cavs allow the 8th most steals against them in the NBA. They allow 8.3. For reference, the team that allows the most is the Jazz at 9.4. And Jimmy is known for being a smart, heady defender who can pick off passes and just kind of see what the offense is doing and get one step ahead of them and get steals. It's kind of how it works. Overall, against the Cavs, he's gotten 2+ steals in 3 of 4 games. That includes 1 game this year and a couple games last year. So let's hope he can continue that, cashing +140 for us. So we're 7 picks deep. Now's a great time to talk to you about the Betting Pros Discord. So if you're looking to up your sports betting game, I would say you can look no further than the Betting Pros Discord. You can find it at bettingpros.com/chat. In the Discord, number one, it's completely free, not a paid Discord, but you can find a bunch of expert handicappers giving you free picks for NFL, NBA, NHL, player props, live betting, futures. It's bowl season for college football. You can find picks for that as well. You can connect with individuals such as yourselves in the chat. I'm assuming you're a sports betting enthusiast. The Discord is filled with sports betting enthusiasts. You can also, in general, just elevate your strategy, learn what the pros do. Learn what the pros do about how they go about sports betting. You can learn about that from them in the Discord. So join us. I'm in there, so I can say us. Join us in the Discord, bettingpros.com/chat. Take your sports betting experience to the next level. So we're 7 picks deep. We're about halfway. Our next one that we're going to lock in here in the Warriors versus Thunder game, I'm taking SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, over 32.5 points, plus 110 odds at DraftKings. This is at DraftKings. So yeah, backing Shai is not a tough sell at this point on the year. He's averaging over 30 points per game. He's specifically cleared 33 or more in 8 of 19 games this year. He's also done it in 2 of his last 3. And both of those that he did it in were tough matchups against the Lakers and the Rockets. Both of those defenses significantly better than the Warriors defense. And the Warriors in general, their defense is not good. They also struggle against guards. So to begin the year, it was specifically point guards. As of right now, they allow the 8th most points per game to point guards. That was in the top 5 for most of the year. Recently, it's been the shooting guards that have been going off against the Warriors. Shooting guards, the last 5 shooting guards have gone over their point total over under. So it's not like their defense got better. It was just a different guard position. Last time these two teams played, Shai hung 40 on them. And if we go back to last year, his last 6 games against the Warriors, he scored at least 30 points in 4 of those games. And one in which he went under 33, he had 32. Another game, he had 31. So he's consistently hovering around this number. I think Shai's going to go off tonight against the Warriors, hopefully cashing plus 110 for us. Next up, our 9th pick of the evening in the Bulls versus Spurs game. Taking Victor Wembanyama over 2.5 blocks, plus 140 odds at DraftKings. Andre, what's up? Thanks for joining. So blocks, similar to steals, it's another niche market. Another play that I found using the Betting Pros app. Betting Pros projects him to have 3 blocks in this one, 57.7% chance that he goes over. And again, for plus 40 odds, that's really good value. Despite Victor Wembanyama being a rookie, he's come in and immediately been a plus defender. He's been really good. On the year, he's averaging 2.6 blocks per game. So he averages over this number. Now he's cleared 3+ in 8 of 19 games. So in terms of hit percentage, it's a little bit below 50%. But you can rack up some blocks against the Bulls. They have such poor spacing that everything's just crowded, which means a long-limbed guy like Wemby, a lot easier for him to rack up blocks. Overall, the last 3 centers have had 3 blocks, exactly 3 blocks against the Bulls. But what I like about that is none of those centers had an over-under of 2.5. 2 of them had an over-under of 1.5. 1 had an over-under of 0.5, and they all had 3. So went pretty decently over their block number, their over-under, whatever you want to call it, that they had. Real quick comment in the chat from Andrew Ann Rosa Lilio Jameson. Welcome. Thoughts on Heat getting points? Yeah, there's no, they're getting 1.5 or 2 if you're talking about the spread, depending on where you look. But Bam's out. It's just a weird game. I kind of do like the Heat in this one, just because the Heat always win these games when their entire team's missing because they have such good depth and such good player development. And the Cavs have been very hit or miss. It's not an official play. If I had to give a prediction, I would probably say the Heat spread and money line. But there was really no value just across the books. It was pretty much aligned on 1.5 or 2, and you're not really getting any value there. Same with the money line. But appreciate the comment. Any other questions, put in the chat. Next up, our 10th pick or 11th, I've lost count at this point, of the slate. We're taking, this is Rockets Nuggets. We're taking Nikola Jokic over 9.5 assists, minus 120 odds at ESPN Bet. Great question in the chat. My literal next sentence is another way that you can back Jokic to presumably get 10 plus assists is to bet on him to get a triple double. So Mr. Sparkle, great question. You can find him to get a triple double. Last I checked was plus 110 at FanDuel. Obviously the rebounds, it's very likely he gets to 10 rebounds. So if you want to back him to get to 10 plus assists, another way to do that is triple double. I am just going to specifically only track the assists because that is where I found the value. But again, triple double is a way to back that. Now on the year, Jokic has only cleared this in 10 of 21 games, but look at his recent stats. In his last 4 games, 15 assists, 16, 14, 10, going well above this number in 3 of those 4. And in one of them, still hitting it with exactly 10. Generally, I like to fade these recent trends, but not in this situation with Jokic. I want to just ride the heater with Jokic. The Rockets do have a good defense, but they just have no hope of stopping Jokic. Granted, no team has any hope of stopping Jokic, but the Rockets specifically just have such a small center rotation that Jokic just feasts. This is somehow going to be the 4th time already that these two teams played each other. So like by December 8th, they're not going to play again for the rest of the year. In the 3 games up until this point, he's had 11, 8, and 15 assists. So he's averaging over 11 in those 3 games. Dating back to last year, which I understand is a little bit unfair because the Rockets were a total train wreck last year. But last year, he cleared 10 plus assists in 2 of 3 games against the Rockets. Now, I am taking out 1 game in April because he only played 24 minutes. The Nuggets had the 1 seed locked up at that point, so we didn't play a ton. So that one I'm taking out. But regardless, he does clear this assist number a lot against the Rockets. So I think that it's a good play to take him to get to 10 plus. All right, so we got 3 picks left. But before we get into them, I do want to talk about, and I hinted at this earlier, a 1-year premium subscription giveaway. So if you want a chance to win a premium 1-year subscription to Betting Pros, it's a place where you can bet smart, not bet hard. All you need to do to be entered is subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel, which hopefully you're already doing this. And then also comment below on this video. That's it. You can comment whatever you want, but that's all you need to do. Subscribe and comment. We'll announce a winner right here on this channel. So in terms of making sure that you are aware that you've been picked, make sure to turn notifications on so you're alerted when new episodes drop. And then you can come in and claim your prize. I cannot recommend the premium subscription enough. So if you want a chance at getting it for a year free, comment and subscribe. So we have 3 more picks. Real quick, getting into a question from Aaron. Not sure if Bam being out impacts Lowry over 8.5 points, but like it regardless. Any thoughts? I do like that one. I was looking at Kyle Lowry because the Cavs, despite having a good defense overall, struggle against point guards. Lowry is just always scary to back for points because he'll have games where he just doesn't shoot. But in terms of the matchup and like you said, with Bam being out, I do think that one makes sense. So I think there is some value there. I think that's a good spot that you found. All right, 3 picks left. 11th one. In the Kings versus Suns game, I'm taking the over, straight up the over, 236, minus 110 odds at FanDuel. Now, this one was mostly a line shopping play. I was scrolling through the books. FanDuel had this at 236. Most other books actually had this at 237. I even saw it up to 237 and a half. And as I mentioned, main lines for the NBA, while it's not quite the NFL, they're pretty sharp just because so many people bet them. So the lines are hammered pretty closely to what they should be. So it's not often you find this big of a difference. Like 1.5 points is pretty big for the over-under. So again, over 236. I like looking at the Kings isolating Fox when he plays, because when Fox plays, the Kings play at a pace that would be the 3rd fastest in the NBA. Without Fox, they play at a very slow pace. So because Fox missed some time earlier in the year, their total pace stats don't really reflect how fast that they play. And because of that pace, they score a lot of points. They have an also awesome offense. They also allow a ton of points, allowing 117.3 points per game. That's 22nd in the NBA. So even with no Kevin Durant and no Bradley Beal on the Sun side, I do expect there to be a lot of points scored in this one. Hopefully the over can come through for us. Next up, our second to last pick of the evening. This is definitely the scariest one I'll call this one the Pepto play of the day. You're going to want to take Pepto because it's not going to feel great. But I'm taking Luka Doncic under 32.5 points, minus 110 odds at Fanatics. This is the ultimate fade of recent events when you consider how well Luka's been playing and how much he's been cooking. Maybe that continues. Maybe he continues to cook, puts up 40 plus points. Sorry, I was looking at the comments. I'll get to some comments in a second. Ultimate fade of recent events with this one. Like I said, he's putting up 40 points in 3 quarters, which he did last game. But this game literally might have the least amount of juice in an NBA game possible. Generally, the Mavericks play up and down to their opponents. Now, that was not the case last game. They smoked the Jazz. That's not what they normally do. But this game against the Blazers could possibly be out 3 starters. Jeremy Grant's out. Malcolm Brogdon's possibly out. DeAndre Ayton's possibly out. And while there's no doubt that Luka's been playing incredible, in the last 3 games, he scored 41, 36, 40 points. Prior to that, he had gone under 32.5 points in all but one of his previous 7 games. So he's only hit the over in 1 of his previous 7. And he's only gone over in 2 of his previous 11 prior to that. So I think now's the time to buy high. I guess sell high. That would be the term? Sell high on Luka for him to go under 32.5 points. Wait for the next big matchup. Then we'll bet on him to blow up, which we've done plenty of times. So fading Luka under 32.5 points is scary. So it looks like the play for the Kings Suns actually did not get good closing line value there. It's down to 234.5. I would probably sit that out at this point. Like I said, it was a line shopping play when I found it. Obviously, lines change. Sometimes they move in our favor. Sometimes they don't. In this case, it turns out they moved not in our favor. So I would probably sit that one out and just wait for me to look into it when we hop off the stream. So sorry about that. Again, sometimes odds move against you. Last pick, Clippers versus Jazz. This is the spiciest play, or the juiciest play, I should say. The juiciest in terms of odds. James Harden, 10 plus assists, plus 245 odds at DraftKings. Looking at James Harden, he had a rough start, both him and the Clippers, when he was first traded. But he's been playing a lot better recently. He's only cleared 10 plus assists in 3 games total. And this is a smaller sample size, obviously, but last 2 games, he's had 9 and he's had 11 assists. And his last game, 11 assists against the Denver Nuggets, who have a very good defense. Now, his main line over under is 7.5. And that's a number that he did not come close to in his first 6 games as a member of the Clippers. Since then, he's done it in 5 of 9. And again, he's also gone 10 plus in 3 of 9 as well. So he's been playing much better. And that also coincides with the Clippers moving Russell Westbrook to the bench. That really opened things up for him and for the starting lineup. Now for this game, he gets a very juicy matchup who Luka just crushed against the Jazz. The defense is terrible. The Jazz allow the 4th most assists per game against them, mostly because of their bad defense. That is the 6th worst in the NBA in terms of net rating. James Harden is not who he was 5 years ago, but he can still annihilate these bad matchups. He's still the same guy that at least last year led the league in assists, averaged over 10. Now, obviously, different situation. So I'm not saying that he's going to average 10 again, but for him to get 10 plus in this matchup with how well he's been playing for plus 245 odds, I think makes a lot of sense as our last play. And that's all we got. 13 plays for you guys to lock in. I guess technically 12 because that over ended up moving against us. But regardless, I appreciate everybody for tuning in to the stream. I appreciate everybody as well for commenting. Remember to check out the Betting Pros app, bettingpros.com/apps. Remember to check out the Discord, bettingpros.com/chat. And remember that we are doing a 1-year premium subscription giveaway. All you need to do is subscribe and comment. And then you can find me anywhere at Jedi Modi. Hope everybody in here has a good weekend and have a good one.